So, Marine and then NYPD, how did that happen? As a Marine, did you ever have had a day or felt as if you're not going to make it? Royal family from Monaco chapter in here. So I have a few questions. Like, those riches really do have darkest secrets in their closets than the normal human beings?
I would say so, yes.
So, Carl, welcome to the Hulk Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And let's start with something basic. Let's go back. Talk to your childhood growing up in New York City.
Yes.
Fond memories.
Quite a while ago. But I grew up in a really cool neighborhood in Staten Island, which people call it the bastard borough of New York City, but it's actually, I think it's the coolest borough. It's part of New York City, 5 boroughs, obviously, but a lot of immigrants when they came from Italy. My dad came from Italy, went to Ellis Island and did all that, and everybody went to the Lower East Side. But as it got more and more crowded, the Lower East Side, he decided, hey, let's move to Staten Island. And a lot of little neighborhoods like New Brighton, West Brighton, Rosebank, North Shore, very, very close to the Staten Island Ferry, very, very close to Manhattan, because people still had to go back and forth there to go to work. No bridge, mind you, back then. So it was difficult to get back and forth. But that's where he settled, and that's where he raised 8 kids. I grew up in a neighborhood where it was multicultural, multiracial. It was actually fantastic. We handled our own situations, played basketball, baseball, football, any sport you could possibly think of. And no parent intervention, nothing like that. We picked our own teams, and if you weren't as good as the other players, you got picked last. So you had a choice at that point. Either you get better
Right.
or you pick another sport. Yeah. But I think it was healthy for kids growing up, because I look at it now and all these helicopter parents and things like that, and they spend so much money on coaches and this and that instead of the enjoyment that the child is having playing the sport.
Right.
And I think that's more important. But, yeah, we had a great time, and it was rough. I mean, we weren't wealthy or anything like that, but we never wanted for anything. My neighborhood, everybody worked. Either you were a deckhand, whatever, worked on a boat, a railroad, bus depot, whatever you had to do, but you were a worker. There was no Wall Street people on Staten Island at the time. Now there's a big difference. Now everybody from who makes their money in Manhattan makes their money from home. Now Staten Island has progressed to be a pretty cool place.
Right. Were your parents strict when you were growing up?
Say again, please.
Were your parents strict when you were growing up?
Were my parents strict? They were, but in a different way. They didn't have to lay rules down, or you knew what you were expected to do. You knew what you shouldn't do, and the feeling amongst my friends and myself, we were embarrassed if we did something. And trust me, we've done some crazy stuff, and you get in trouble, and then you get punished.
Right.
And but all my dad had to do was look at us,
right,
and we knew. I think we better not do that again.
That's awesome. So my my eldest son, he's 4 years old, right? When I ask him, and when we ask him, what does he want to do? He wants to be a cop. He always tells us that I want to be a cop. Did you knew when you were young that you always wanted to do something in the field, not your current field, but something around that line? Did you all have any kind of a bug when you were a young child growing
Honestly, I would have to say no. Policeman never came into my mind. And I decided to become a Marine when I was like 16, 17. But when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, there was nothing on TV but cop shows. Mannix, Banachek, Barnaby Jones, Cannon. That's what we watched.
Right.
And I did. If you ask my mom, she would say that's all you did. You watched these shows. So maybe they did have some type of influence on me. Okay. But I think they did. And I liked them. I watch them today. I watch all the reruns and stuff. But it's interesting that your son says he wants to be a police officer. If he said that to me, my question to him would be, what do you think police officers do? Like, why do you want to be a police officer? If you're not willing to help people, he obviously must be a great kid. He wants to help people. He wants to make a difference.
He does.
Otherwise, why be a police officer? If you're going to be a police officer because you want to lock people up,
right,
and they're out there, those people shouldn't be police officers.
So one of my first guests on season 3 that we are shooting right now was the Chief Marshal of Somerset for firefighting. Mm-hmm. So when he came in his car, and he got kind of very very impressed because he had a similar kind of looking car, and then he saw actual car, and he walked up. He was a pretty big built person, and then when I was telling him, you want to be a firefighter, so he didn't budge. He still wanted to be a cop. So I was like, okay, all right. Maybe next time when I talk to him, I'm going to ask him, what's your motivation behind saying that you want to be a police officer?
Very similar professions, but my heart goes out to firemen because they run into burning buildings.
Yeah.
Right.
No, we're going to talk about that.
They save people, right?
Yeah.
Police officers, unfortunately, the way our police departments throughout this country are set up, we focus more on the apprehension and the past of it, the post actions, where we should be on the preventive action.
Right.
If we were on the preventive action, we'd have a lot less crime.
No,
but it's it's a little more difficult to do, I guess. But I think it's well worth it. But
okay, no, that's so Marine and then New York NYPD.
Marine first, yes.
How did that happen? From Marine, you went to NYPD, and
I stayed in the Marines for a while, and then I realized that wasn't going to be my career. It was different back then.
How long did you serve as a Marine?
Almost 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay.
And I liked it. Actually, I loved it. I still think about it every day. I made some great friends. We did a lot of great stuff. Traveled the country. Traveled the world, actually, when I was in the Marines. And back then, it just wasn't enough for me at that point. I said, you know what, I'm going to try to get out. And my mother, I had applied to be a policeman, and my mother sent me a letter saying, the police called you. So I came back and started that.
As a Marine, did you ever have had a day or felt as if you're not going to make it?
Yeah.
Were you in any war zones?
It's funny, people don't realize it. It's coming up now because people are saying, oh, the president, the one we have now, doesn't have the right to send Marines to places. They don't realize that the Marine Corps is different than the Navy, the Air Force, the Army. He can send the Marine Corps anywhere he wants in the world for 30 days, and he doesn't need congressional approval.
Okay.
Has to pull him back, but then he can send him again, right?
Right.
So that's important. The other branches of the service, he needs congressional approval to do. So the Marines back in 1775, when it started, oh, and by the way, this year is the 250th birthday, November 10th, of the Marine Corps. If you think about that, 1775, that's the beginning of the country. So they needed a legitimate fighting force to protect themselves and the laws that they were about to enhance and things like that. So my heart goes out to the Marines. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I'll never forget it. I tell people all the time it changed my life for the better. And then I have a lot of kids that say, oh, Carl, I want to be in the Marines. What do you think? And I tell them simply this. You're going to go in the Marine Corps. You're going to come out either better or worse. But you're not going to come out the same.
Right.
The choice is yours. If you want to come out better, you will. But if you want to be, you want to get involved in crazy stuff, then you're going to come out worse. So it teaches you to be on time. It teaches your character. It's taught me so much, so much in my life and in business, and I could say it just makes you a better, makes you understand what's expected of you. Right. And once your clients realize that that's a big deal for you, that's a big deal, right? I won't let them down, right?
Right. Yeah. Does the fear, like I always get fascinated when you're a Marine, like your life is. What thought process goes into your mind when you're jumping in front of a bullet, or you don't know what's going to hit you, and you're still walking into that line of fire to protect the country, protect
Oh, you got first responders that deal with that every day, and Marine Corps too. The thing about the Marines is I find them the greatest trained force in the world. They train you for that. Police departments have great training, but if you want to get into like emergency service, things like that, they have specialized units and you get better training. But the average patrolman goes to the range twice a year and pretty easy target practice. And he's really not trained. So I find it remarkable of how many police officers we have in this country, and they do such a great job. I mean, think about how many accidental shootings we have compared to how many policemen, patrolmen, not emergency service, these guys with a gun on their hip and a girl, a gun on their hip. It's amazing how they do it. So to your point, do you get scared? Do you get nervous? If you don't get scared and you don't get nervous, you probably should move on and go someplace else, because then there's something wrong with you, right? I mean, I ran into many buildings with chasing a guy with a gun. He could have been right there. You're in God's hands, but you do what you have to do. You do what you're trained to do,
Right.
and you very much rely on the person next to you, the teamwork, your partner. In the Marine Corps, you have a team,
Right.
squad, right?
Right. Squad.
And I was a squad leader for a while, and they count on you, and it's all about leadership and things like that. But
Right.
to your question, do you get scared? Do you get nervous? Yes. And then when you see people get shot in front of you and die, and that's you never forget it. You
Yeah.
never forget it. But every time that something like that happens to you, you would think that you would be more reluctant to walk in that door,
Right.
but you're not.
Do you feel after a while you just become like how quickly you cope up after a loss? Do you feel that after you see it like so many times it happens in front of you, you just mentally get wired that okay, today I'm going to be sad, tomorrow morning I'm going to brush it off and I'm going to go back again.
Yeah, that's one way of handling it, I guess. I mean, just take, for me personally, if you take 9/11 that day, I lost 35 friends, good friends, my old partner,
Right.
a cousin, that day, in a matter of 20 minutes. 35 people.
Jimmy was the
Lenny Regaglia was worked with me in the 5th Precinct, great guy.
Okay.
And but I had already left, and I had my investigative business. A lot of those guys worked for me.
Right.
And they all worked in the lower Manhattan side, and 35 that day, and probably another 50 since then from medical conditions that they got from the air that they were breathing for, while that happened.
Right.
So that's a lot of people in your life, that good friends. You think about them, and every 9/11 you see the pictures and you see, the memorials and everything. I think of their kids. I still try to stay in touch with their kids, and a lot of the kids became cops and things like that. Right. But, that was a horrible day, but people die every day, and life is short. What you should learn from it is the next day, take advantage of it. Make sure you do something good for somebody, enjoy yourself that day. Ask your wife or your kids or friends, hey, what's going on? Everything good?
Right.
That's what you should get from death.
Right.
Not you feeling bad,
Right.
It's a terrible thing, but
Perfect.
that's the way it goes.
Right. So that's a perfect segue. So let me handle this. This year I've started to find fondness for books. So I've always look out for books if somebody recommends. And this is the book. Let me handle this. It's by Carl. I spoke about this in the introduction. I've just got this book 2 days ago, and I was looking at the book and I was trying to find chapters. And 9/11, you bought that part, and I immediately first went to that and I read the whole chapter. First of all, it's from your perspective, it's so differently written. The way you have explained about, you trying to guide that truck of firefighters who wanted to get closer, but they didn't have a way to get closer to help, and you hop on the bus.
Right.
So there are a lot of stories in here which are like touching, right? In that chapter, you kept mentioning that how did we let this happen again and again, over and over again? What was
I get that.
what was that reason? Why did you felt?
It's a great question. Everybody thinks of 9/11 that day, that Tuesday morning. I think it was beautiful out and all that. But you can't think of that without going to the first World Trade Center bombing. The first World Trade Center bombing, I think that was 93. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 93. I was very involved in that. And what happened, I was an investigator at that point, and what happened was there was a group of individuals that wanted to blow up the building and topple one on top of the other. And this is important, and it leads to 9/11 because this is why I always say that. And to this day, I still believe that 9/11 should never have happened.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. So they did succeed in trying to blow up the one building. They rented a rider van. They loaded it up with dynamite and stuff, went underneath, and that building actually shook. Now think about it. Now that building shook, and everybody felt it. And all the fire department, all the police departments, all the emergency service people responded to those buildings, correct?
Right.
And it was later deemed the greatest rescue in New York history. And it was. One guy died of a heart attack because he was out of shape walking down the stairs. One guy out of the millions, or I don't know how many, thousands were in the
people,
building.
yeah.
Right. So think about it. The radio transmissions, stay there, we're coming to get you. Stay there, we're coming to get you. Go to the roof, we're coming to get you. And that's what happened. The firemen came in, they ran up the buildings, it was smoke, and a little bit of smoke, but that bomb was in the basement.
Right.
Completely different. But think about the way people respond, right?
Right.
So that happened, and everybody got out, and you'll see, if you Google that and look at the pictures of it, looks similar, but the buildings are up, they didn't fall, whatever.
Right.
So if you really do a deep dive into that, which I did, I was the lead investigator for that trial. He's passed away now, but his name was Supreme Court Justice Duffy, great man. And they had 5 individuals they arrested for that. And when they brought them back to the United States, they all claimed they had alibis. So, oh, my brother did it. It wasn't me. I was teaching people in the Philippines. So they needed a source to go investigate that.
Right.
But it couldn't be an FBI agent because that wouldn't be right. It couldn't be this. So they put out a request, and I put it in there, and I went and I interviewed with Justice Duffy, and I got the job. And I went all over. I went to Afghanistan, Philippines, and all over. And I interviewed the worst terrorists in the world, like a bunch of times. There were 2 that ran that operation. One was Wali Khan Amin Shah. He was a tactical general that worked with bin Laden in Afghanistan. He was actually on our side back then until we stayed, well, according to him, we stayed there too long or whatever, and they became against us.
Right.
But they planned a plot, and the name of the plot, you could look it up, was Bojinga, Bonjinga, Bojinga.
Right.
Bojinga was flying an airplane into the World Trade Center. That's in 1993.
And you mentioned that actually word in that chapter.
It's in there, man.
Again, you mentioned that.
I get goosebumps thinking about it. Like I told you, losing 35 friends that day,
Yeah.
I don't take easy.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
And I get very emotional. I get very upset about it because when you interview a guy that's a terrorist, the worst terrorist in the world, and you talk to him about what happened to Bojinga, and he tells me, well, we couldn't figure out how to fly the planes. We weren't advanced enough to do it. So that's why we came up with the Ryder van.
Right.
Okay, so now you get these guys locked up. You put them in the Manhattan, where I used to interview the guy, Manhattan Correctional Center, underneath. It's where Epstein hung himself.
Okay.
I was in the same unit.
Oh, wow.
Same unit. That's where they had these 5 guys lodged for years until the trial came up. So how do we not, instead of locking them up in these concrete caves,
Right.
we should have gotten
Information.
We should have,
Absolutely.
Eventually, I think Wali Khan Amin Shah flipped and helped us a little bit, and I think he was very helpful in a few things afterwards.
Right.
But other than that, we never found out about. They started planning that Trade Center bombing the day that didn't work, the next day.
Right.
So that's what really burns me up about it. I think the lack of intelligence and, the greatest rescue of all time. I believed at that time, but unfortunately, after that happened, protocols were put in to, okay, if this ever happens again, we're going to do mock drills, we're going to do this. That lasted for about 2 or 3 months.
Right.
Now, fast forward, 9/11, 2 planes crash into the buildings. What happens? Stay there. We're coming to get you.
Right.
Exactly what happened in 93. The same firemen who responded then came. The same people who were working in the buildings.
Right.
They're still working there. Oh, we're going to be okay. You know what? Let's just go to the roof. We're going to be safe.
Right.
If everyone would have just evacuated as fast as possible, unfortunately, above the fire floor, I don't know how you would have done it. But below the fire floor, instead of waiting there, right?
Just leave.
Just leave. Get down as quick as you can. And some people did, and they lived. But most just did what they were told to do or thought was right. God bless every single one of them. Right. I'm not putting any kind of, you made a bad decision or anything like that. I don't know what I would have did either. But if you really want to see something to change your mind about firemen and first responders, Google radio transmissions from firemen 9/11. They actually have it on a site where firemen know they're going to die, and they're talking to their phone to leaving messages.
Yeah, this is even there in the museum there that they have created. Where they have actual recordings of.
One of the things I couldn't believe it on the pile. You're sitting there, the ground is hot as hell, and families are calling saying he just called me, he's alive. So for the first day and a half, 2 days, no, not really more than that, you thought maybe there was a pocket under all that,
Yeah.
and maybe he was breathing, whatever. The problem of that was the illustrious mayor, you could read into that any way you like, by the way, that we had that time was Rudolph Giuliani. And he put the Office of Emergency Management in the #1 terrorist target in the world when he was told not to do that.
Right.
So you'd have to ask him why he would do that, but he did that. And a lot of the communication was faulty.
Right.
We were getting messages from that. So I remember being on a pile with a bucket, and you just give it to the guy behind you, and that's what. There was an old man behind me in a fireman uniform.
Right.
Old man, retired, but his son was in there, and all you heard was beep, 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 beep. It was eerie. It was like something I saw in the war. In Vietnam, not Vietnam, in the Philippines.
Right.
After a bomb hit or whatever, it looked like that, right? And I said, "What are those beeps?" And he looked at me and he said, "Every time you hear that beep, that's a fireman, because they have these little things on their belts when they go lateral. They beep.
They beep.
So that's all you heard was beep, beep, beep. All dead firemen.
Wow.
Horrible, horrible day. But
right. And that's also mentioned.
That's in there. The 9/11 thing's in there.
I read this.
I'm not going to, on the podcast, just because I'm not going to have a lot of time to explain it, I'm not going to tell you why the mayor put that in there. But if you read the book, you'll know why I put it in there.
And I'm going to put the description of this. It's on Amazon. Trust me, I'm new to reading. I've read like maybe 4 or 5 books. This is my probably 6th book this year. And I'm telling you, it's very gripping. And I think I think it's very beautifully written. Whoever is structured it, it's good.
I wrote it with a pencil. She made sure I spelled everything.
So good.
The Mighty Quinn's in there. She's been my assistant for 14 years. She just makes sure I spell everything right. But it was done by pencil. I can't do it by computer. I just write it, and it's just the story.
No, and again, like so you can read it in multiple different ways. So if you want to read continuously, you can still keep reading. Some chapters they don't have any continuity. So like if you stop there, you can pick up the next chapter, and the chapters equally, they're short, they're not that big. So if you see, so this is book size, they're written in such a way that they're gripping enough. It's not like any over information. It's up to point. And the emotions, I can only talk about 2 or 3 chapters that I read, but the 9/11, I literally had a tear in my eye because the way you explained, and then the story at the very end. Again, I want viewers to read it. But about that girl, the parents, that was. So yeah, I would highly encourage, go ahead and read it. We'll talk about 1 or 2 more things from this book.
The reason, today. Can I just say the reason why I wrote it?
Yeah, please.
People were telling me to write it because, you go hang out with your friends and you're telling stories and all this kind of stuff. And, you should write a book. You should write a book. I said, I'm not writing a book. I would read it. I said, no one's going to read it. Right. And then finally, some writer in Manhattan, a female, she got me to do it by saying, Carl, you won't read it because you did it. But if you write it, they'll read it.
Right.
And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Right. I didn't think anyone would read that book. Right. It's in 5 continents. But the real reason why I wrote it was because I can write it. First of all, I was able to write it. And 2, I worked with some of the greatest cops, firemen, lawyers, everybody. In my profession, you run into all different people, right?
Right.
And they're really good. And if they read the book, and they have read the book, a lot of them, they tell me, I did that. Oh, yeah, I remember I did something like that. So I could pretty much guarantee a reader, if they read that book, they're going to turn around and say, wow, you know what? I did the same thing when I was a kid. Right. And I got in the same kind of trouble. So It was just, my life, I do admit, it's been, I don't want to say exciting, because not everything's exciting, but I did do a lot of things. And I just wanted the people who can't write a book to read it and go, hey, you know what? I did that too. Right. And I really wrote it for them. And that's in the forward of the book as well. So really that was the whole thing. It wasn't for money or anything. Anybody that knows anything about writing books, you don't make a lot of money writing books.
You said something fun, and I think you were joking, but I was actually serious about this book becoming into a movie, because it's a story of a spy. It almost feels like it. You have so many different shades to your life that has evolved, like Marines to NYPD to working for a royal family, and then being a 30-year investigator. This is
You did pretty good in one day
This
reading
is
that book.
a
You did a good job.
this is a classic plot. I have a team though. I can't take all the credit.
Oh,
I did definitely read a lot,
Right.
and I'm pretty good at catching things. But I at least knew about this part. So I was trying to find a story to your life.
I agree with that. It's just look. I don't want to talk about the book too much, but
No,
a
no.
lot of it is motivational as well.
Let me talk.
Yes.
You respond to the
Please.
whatever you feel.
Please.
There is. I want to talk about this a royal family from Monaco chapter in here. So I have a few questions. Like, those riches really do have darkest secrets in their closets than the normal human beings?
I would say so. Yes.
You think?
Yes.
And would you like to talk about a little bit about your experience?
Well, first it was Princess Caroline.
And she's the princess of
Monaco.
Monaco. Okay,
Yes.
Monaco.
Very,
Monaco Grand
very
Prix.
beautiful.
This is
Yeah.
my
Beautiful country, beautiful woman, very, very nice. She treated me like I was family, and I was just her bodyguard. That's all. And we stayed at the Mark Hotel when they stayed in New York. I was friends with the concierge there. Basically, when you're working for people of that stature, the hotel gives you anything you want. So we had a car outside. They had the suite upstairs. It was a pretty good deal. And she treated me great. And everywhere she went, I went with her, and it was great. And then she introduced me to her brother, was Prince Albert at the time. Okay. He later became the king. So once you become king and you go to another country, that country is responsible for giving you protection. So I lost the job as soon as he got promoted. As soon as his dad passed away, that was it. I was done. But I did it for a few years, quite a while, and I can't tell you it's a different way of life. I mean, it's a different way of life. But they were great. She treated me great. Really,
right.
Really did.
And so this is fun because you see in the movies, and when they show there is a protection, they get project for they hire people who are like detectives, or they have to submit their resume, right, first to be selected. Is that how it works?
Yeah, you get interviewed by.
How do you know? How do you even know that? Okay, some people is there like an internet portal or something where you guys know you are?
No, it's just, you know what? And I was in Manhattan, and I had a pretty successful business in Manhattan,
Right.
and I was doing stuff for other CEOs and things like that. It's a very small pool you could think to pick from, and I did the work. I didn't have a business where I let other people work.
Correct.
So I had one client at that time, it was me.
Right.
So, and then you interview with their staff, and then you interview with them, and it's just a matter of do they feel comfortable or not with you, and that's it. Just like what I'm doing with you right now.
Right.
It's really what it was. But Princess Caroline was spectacular. I remember she hosted a dinner in a famous restaurant in Midtown. 15 people, silverware. I mean, it's just a whole deal. It was unbelievable. And I was standing by the door, and she said, "Carl," and I said, "No, it's okay. You guys go ahead." So she said to the maitre d', "Put him over there at that table." The table was 2 feet away. And he didn't like me, that guy. And he came over to me, and he said, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, whatever they're having's fine." And he looked at me and said, "They're having Chateaubriand." I said, "I'll have that. Just make a sandwich out of it. I'll be fine." And he looked at me like he wanted to kill me, and he did. But she made sure that I was taken care of. She was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, really cool.
Let's talk about 30 plus years of private investigation. That's the big. So we're going to switch to a different segment now. Marines to New York, NYPD. Why go into doing private investigating? What did you not enjoy NYPD?
No, I enjoyed NYPD really well, but unfortunately, after a few years, I was making an arrest, and I got injured. Okay. And at the time, I was pretty high in overtime. Like we were locked. My friends and I in the 5th precinct, we were locking people up pretty often. And back then, and the system was so slow, you'd lock somebody up and you get overtime. This doesn't sound like a big deal, but we were getting 30, 40, 50, 60 hours overtime a month. And, it was blood money, but that's what we did. And we were locking up felonies. So you would think that they would be happy. But once you became like top 10 in the overtime list or whatever, they wanted you out. So I didn't want to leave. But they put my papers in and said, "No, you're not going to be able to shoot a gun." I said, "I'll do it lefty." And they said, "No, you can't shoot a gun lefty, you're out." So I got out. And then my captain at the time, John Timoney, another guy who changed my life, he was from Ireland, and he was my police captain. And he said, Carl, don't fight this. He said, go. I know you. He said, go out, get your private investigator's license. Just don't end up in a gin bill. And I said, private investigator's license? He goes, yeah, $270, Broadway, take the test, you'll be great. And I looked into it, and I started thinking back to what we talked about before, Mannix, Kojak, Barnaby Jones. They're all private investigators.
Right.
Banachek. And I was like, wow, I could be one of those guys. They had beautiful girls. They got paid really well. I said, I'll try it.
Right.
And I went in. I took the test. I passed. And I just put my head down and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
And the Marine Corps took over.
Right.
And there isn't a wall you can't run through as a Marine. Right. There isn't a business thing you can't do once you have that training. Right. And to this day, once I get a job, I'm focused on it. And, if it may not all work out great, but it ain't going to be because of lack of effort or anything like that. So I started off, one-man shop or whatever, and then I started doing guard service too. I had a lot of cops working for me. There was a lot of construction going on in high-end buildings. And then I started thinking, and I looked at some of the people that I know that were successful in business, and I looked. Some businesses you can't do for everyone. Right. Maybe you just do it for the high end or the people that can afford to pay you. So then I started thinking about it. I said, you know what? If a client can afford to pay you and they have a need for your services, that's a home run. Right. Instead of wasting time with marketing and sales for a person who needs you but can't afford to pay you. Right. Or a person who can afford to pay you but doesn't really need you. That's not going to work either. Right. So you have to look for that need and look for the ability to get reimbursed for it and grow your business. Right. And that's what I did, and I still do that. And, word of mouth, and I don't really advertise. This is unique for me, what we're doing today. Yeah. But a lot of people are going to know. I'm going to put you on the map. Big time. Easy. Easy. I don't know. Map's good. I was actually questioning that so this happened so quick and organically. So I was feeling, private investigator, shouldn't you be living in the shadows? And do you know where I live? No. My current address is in Turks and Caicos Islands. I live full-time in Turks and Caicos. I was home this week for a golf outing for an old friend of mine. I came back to play as a member guest, and I was on my way home, and I got a phone call from you. And I had a couple days off, whatever. I would never do this. I had a couple days off. Lucky me. Lucky me. You're great. You seem like a great guy. If I can help you get this off the ground, and you can help me or whatever, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? We'll be celebrating your 40th or 50th anniversary of private investigation. That'd be great, that was just, I don't know what it is, but I felt an honesty in your voice. Okay. I felt an honesty. I felt some professionalism. Right. And I said, you know what, this is, because you know how many calls I get that are scams and gimmicks and all kinds of stuff? I deal with that. Right. And I said, no, I want to do this. And then it worked out. I'm very grateful. This is the reason why I do this, because I get so much one-on-one time with some really, really, really out of the world people, like how you are. So, and then I get to learn a thing or two from you. And so when you said yes to the podcast, I was over the moon. I mean, we didn't yell until you on the phone. After you hung up, I was like, this is going to be one of the biggest interviews that I will ever. I really hope it does everything you want it to do. I really do. And I'm not doing for the views. I'm just doing it because I enjoy it. My audience, some of them have stuck with me, and the way we have picked up. I was hoping for 500 subscribers at this time, and we are already at 4,000, 5,000. Wow, so good for you. So means people are liking it, which is good. I'll keep on doing this as long as Fantastic. This is something fun, right? You enjoy a conversation. Let's come back. So while do you remember any such incidents when you are trying to tail a lead, and in return somebody was they figured out that you were investigating them? Does it ever happen? Well, it all depends on what type of investigation it is. Sometimes it's to your benefit and to your client's benefit if the person realizes you're an investigator and that person hired you and you're coming after him. So you could make that work in your favor as well, especially if you've been in the business as long as I have. You Google my name and you see it, and wow, that guy did that and he did that. Now he's coming after me. I don't want that. So then maybe you can use that in your in your
Right.
process. But then there's the other side where your client's out of assets or he's being manipulated or whatever. Now you have to gather evidence to provide, a case for that. So that you want to take a step back and do all that. But I've been undercover on a lot of different cases, and you'll be surprised. It's a technique that you just develop. And like if I wanted to get I've been next to people in bars that I just walk up to, and he's the person I want to talk to or I want to get information from, right. And I'll just strike a conversation up with him. The technique with that, I tell people all the time, if you want to know, like if I wanted, on a smaller scale, if I wanted to know your favorite color,
right,
I would never ask you. I would never bring up colors or anything like that, right?
Right.
I would say, wow, that's a nice shirt, man. You look good in that.
Right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the color's great on you.
Right.
And then
I start.
You'll give it to me.
Right.
I'd rather you give me that information. So you get him to start talking. That's just a little description, but that's how you do it. You go around and you judge. You just have to have that ability to get people to talk to you, and
right.
you get information and things like that. It is dangerous, a lot of times, but it is what it is.
So one thing I said, I always wanted to be a good listener, and I'm a Virgo. I'm a hyper person. Like I like to talk a lot to anybody. I enjoy talking. And sometimes I, of course, TMI, overshare. And sometimes I'm trying to just listen instead of like thinking what I'm going to ask you next, I'm just going to listen to you. And then you will give me my next question in your thing, what you are saying. Does that also play a big part?
Plays a big part in it. You'll find people that as you're talking to them, they're not listening. You know what I mean? You can just see it in their eyes. They're not listening. So you can be talking about anything you want. It's not going to work, right? So it's a talent to learn how to listen. It's a talent. And I wish more people would do it. I didn't know. I'm a Virgo myself, so we both have the gift of gab, I guess. But listening is important, but as an investigator, there's techniques you have to use, right? You have to be able to steer a conversation. You have to be able to withdraw a conversation. Maybe you have to meet the person 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And gain their confidence
before
you really get to that, right?
Gotcha.
And that's really how it works. But I will tell you this, in the 40 years now that I'm doing this, or 35, whatever, I never liked marital work. I have friends of mine that have been private investigators from the day I started. We took the test together. They've made triple the amount of money I made because they did cheating wives, cheating husbands, things like that. I never did that. I said, I am not going to do that because it's just not me.
Right.
There's always 3 sides to the story. Yeah, you're paying me, but maybe you're the bad guy, and I'm hurting your wife now. I could never do that, right? I did have clients every now and then who they were really good clients, and they got, I knew that life a little bit. But if it wasn't child abuse or drugs in the marriage or abuse, I would never do it. And I still don't. Right. I hate doing marital things and things like that. But God bless people who do it, but I don't do that. I do more corporate, criminal. And everybody says, oh, Carl, you were a cop. How could you work on the defense side?
Right.
How could you work for somebody who, whatever? And I say, well, you always say that until it's your kid that gets locked up.
Yes.
And then you want the best private investigator you can. Absolutely. And all I can tell them is, listen, I'm going to make sure he gets a fair trial. I'm going to make sure he wasn't abused by the system or anything like that. But if he's guilty, I'm going to also tell you, you might want to think about this.
Right.
You might want to think about getting him help because you're not going to beat it. Everybody thinks, oh, you're going to get the guy off. You're going to get the guy off. Yeah. You're not going to get the guy off. Right. But in this country, you need that. Yeah. You need that balance of power, right?
Right.
So I have no problem with that at all, working for the defense side or the prosecution side. A lot of my friends are cops. They know what I do. Detectives, FBI guys, I know a lot of them now.
Right.
And they totally respect it because I know I'm not going to create stories, make up lies, do things like that. Like if you look at the O.J. Simpson case, that's full of nonsense.
Yeah, it's
full of nonsense.
There's drama, a lot of drama.
Well, a lot of evidence, if you really look at it,
public sentiments also played a big part.
A lot of the evidence that was gathered by the police department there, right, was not handled properly.
Right.
It wasn't brought to the lab. It was put in a car or put here. He took it there instead of bringing it there. What is that? You can't do that. And that all you need is a little bit of that.
Right.
And then it becomes a big deal,
Right, exactly.
So
few more questions. So in the age of AI, is it helping you or is it making you work harder?
That's a really good question. That's probably better served for my assistant. She uses AI a lot. But I love AI. I use it a lot. You still have to verify everything that's in there.
Right.
The person who uses AI correctly gets better responses. It's also what you feed into AI is what you get out.
Right.
So from a tool, it's great. Everybody says, "Oh, we're going to start teaching kids AI." I say they're so far behind in reading and stuff now. Yeah. I'd do anything to get them to at least get them to pass 8th grade reading.
Yeah.
If they're used to teach them how to read on their phones.
No, yeah, that's bad.
Whatever you got to do, you got to do it. But it's a resource,
right.
And like I did say, you do have to verify everything that's in there. Right. So that's a whole thing about an investigation too. That, like, a lot of people, when they see something, they come to a conclusion. Well, let's say, I'll give you a good scenario. You guys come home from work one day and something missing in your house.
Right.
Oh man, that had to be the nanny. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it was the delivery guy who came for food. Maybe one of the kids took it. So you have here's the situation, and you have all these scenarios that you're guessing of who did what, right?
Right.
And that's the mistake a lot of people make. And now different facts start coming in, and what they do with the facts is they fill their thoughts. You should do it just the opposite. Think of all those things, those possibilities, but let the facts dictate.
Right.
What happened? Wait for that. Don't just be stubborn and say it had to be the maid.
Right.
Had to be the maid.
Don't let emotions dictate.
Yes, because 99% of the time it's not the maid.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, the maid didn't work that day, and then you find out later, that one. Because once you branch off, and you start focusing in the wrong direction,
right,
you could be wrong for a long time. Right.
Right.
And that's not good. So as an investigator, a successful one, you can't do that. You might have different scenarios. I write them down.
Right.
And I just cross them off as I get through them,
Right, right.
Same thing with parenting, with that. I tell, as a chapter in the book where a kid was, that chapter is a really good chapter as far as learning a lot about fatherhood and all that. You could be liberal.
Right. And
you could be naive. But if you're liberal and naive, that's a recipe for disaster, because you're nice and I don't want to sound crazy, but you're nice in this and you trust everybody, whatever. Unfortunately, that's a bad connection, especially when it comes to your children, right? You really got to go overboard and, put your politics aside, put that aside, have the conversation with the kids early. Hey, what'd you guys do today? Or, that's the problem. Everybody's working and they don't have those simple conversations with their children.
Right.
And it then becomes a big problem. And then all of a sudden you got to hire a private investigator because you think your kid's being molested by his coach.
Right.
And then I come in and go, they did what? I'm like, how did you let your son go to a game? And they're like, oh, we didn't think about it. We just thought it was great.
Yeah.
So
that's so different. That's so
you got to be very careful with that, especially with children. In this world, people focus on that.
Right.
Especially with the media now, everybody, on the phones and chats and all that stuff.
We try to be very approachable, but at the same time, we are smart enough to know what the kid boys. Zayn is 4, so he understands. He talks to us, so we kind of know. We have every day we have that ritual that we talk to him, and we just let him be him. But at the same time, we are listening. Yeah. What he's saying.
Well, you want to raise an independent, smart, great kid, and then all of a sudden at 14 you got one, and you don't want to listen to you.
Yeah,
and it gets difficult.
Be kind, be nice, but just make sure that you understand when you're getting taken advantage of. So you need to be able to do that.
I always tell kids at a young age one thing: no adult asks a child for help.
Right.
If you got a stranger asking you for help,
right,
something's wrong. Something's wrong. And if you're wrong, and the guy was just that's okay. We'll get over it.
Right.
But no adult, no stranger asks a child for help. You're an adult. Would you ask if 8-year-old where's the bathroom? No way.
No way. Yeah.
No way. So that's a touchy one for me. I don't have a temper, but you could get me pretty mad in cases like that.
That's simple but deep. What you said. Think about it. So let's talk about this. Private investigation, Marine, NYPD. How did this love for golf come into play?
Golf, wow!
How many years have you been playing? Have you been playing for a very long time?
I've been playing a long time now. I've been playing a long time. I have to tell you, I've been fortunate enough to join a couple country clubs here in the state of New Jersey, New York, or wherever. And you meet a lot of people. Golf is a game that has no referees.
Right.
You got to ref yourself.
Correct.
So if you want to cheat, move the ball. You'll never do big, but it comes out, and then your character comes out.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of people at clubs, and you play golf a certain way, they trust you.
Right.
Right. And that was how my business got to be where it is now. People trust you. They know you're going to try really hard to help them. Right. And that's where the title of the book comes. Let me handle this.
Right.
My daughter cracks up. She says, my daughter's 32 now, and my first grandchild's 4. And she said, Dad, you left out the best part. And I said, what's that? She said, don't worry, Sam. Her name's Samantha. I always just say to her, don't worry, Sam, let me handle this.
Okay.
And because she was always doing something. She was something else. She still is, but a wonderful mother, a beautiful girl. Anyway.
Yeah. That's beautiful. The title
that's where the Let Me Handle This comes from. And it is something I say an awful lot. I don't even realize I'm saying it.
Right.
But I do like getting into someone's life, whether it be business, personal, whatever.
Right.
The good news about that for me is I've been in it for so long with people very, very successful.
Right.
You see the mistakes they made.
Right.
And then personally, I learned from those mistakes. Right. And say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Maybe that wasn't such a great idea. Maybe you shouldn't have trusted him right off the bat, right?
Right.
And you find that. And that's how golf came in. And it's competitive. I like it. You're playing the golf course, not you play match play against other people, but it's just challenging, and I love being out in the fresh air and stuff.
Yeah.
I wish kids could play it more, but it's an expensive sport to start.
Yeah,
it takes a long time to play, and unfortunately, kids today, if it doesn't come easy right away, they don't want to do it. Yeah. And golf does not come easy right away, but I tell kids all the time, even if you don't have to break 100. So what?
Yeah.
Just go out, learn how to chip, play. You should know the rules first, and then just go ahead and play it. You're going to meet some really good people in your life, and it's just fun.
Yeah, I picked it up last year.
Oh, good for you.
I started playing it. I went to the range. I saw Happy Gilmore. I was like, let me Gilmore this. But it was not that easy. So I'm getting handle of it. I'm still going to ranges. I'm trying to perfect my swing first. And then maybe once that.
The gentleman who painted that picture, who's supposed to be me, went to Villanova, and I played golf with him at a club here not too far in Jersey, and he developed a very bad blood cancer. So as he was dying in his deathbed, he would walk into this guy's house. His name was Mark, I can say that. You'd walk into his house, and he was dying. And, Carl, you want a water? Carl, you want a drink? I got scotch in that thing. You're dying. We come here to see you, and all he cared about was you. Right. And we'd watch his college play basketball and stuff like that. So one of the quotes are in the book that I attribute to him. So he painted like 6 paintings in bed. That was one of them. Right. I said, good thing you didn't feed your family painting, because you wouldn't have made any money. So anyway, when he hit the ball, he had a really bad slice. But you know what he would say after he hit it? A thing of beauty. And it's in the book. He would say, oh, a thing of beauty. That means I know where it went. It went over there.
Yeah.
He really didn't care where it went.
Yeah.
But he's on a tee box. I tell people, when you pull in that golf course, it's for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
All your troubles, all your things should go away.
Right.
If you think about TV, you're not old enough. But my age, you go way back. We had 30 minutes sitcoms of comedy. Nobody made fun of each other. There was always a little bit of a lesson in there, and they were entertaining. 30 minutes. Now everything is in your face. Housewives of this nonsense, all this crazy stuff. You don't really have any kind of like relaxation, and you could sit. How many TV shows can the whole family watch?
Not
that everyone would like. I mean, you'll force yourself to watch some cartoon about a cat or something. Yeah. But I mean, like a real show that, hey, guess what's coming on?
Yeah, right.
There's not many.
There's not many.
There used to be, almost all the shows were like that back then.
Now it's like in a year you can count on your fingers that, okay, this is the show I liked.
Right. Sports, maybe. If your son likes baseball or football or something, maybe that you start and you do that with him. But there really isn't a lot of things on TV or movies or media that you can all really, really enjoy. Exactly. You do it because you're a good parent.
Right.
But there all should be something out there that is fun to watch for everybody, right?
No, absolutely.
But they don't exist. It's very difficult.
Now it's difficult, and now it's also like changing super fast. Like it's just going out of so much fun. The older shows, the older soap operas, the older like comedy shows, they they were fun, lighthearted. They had some messaging. It was a very well structured show.
My mother watched all the soap operas growing up, As the World Turns, all these things.
Right.
Do you know what put soap operas out? And you could fact check this. You know what stopped them that day? One day, they were gone. O.J. Simpson, when he's in the white Bronco. If you do the math and you really investigate that day,
Okay.
24-hour news cycle became then.
That is interesting. I'm going to
24-hour news cycle after that. Everything was OJ, and the TV shows were like, hey, everybody's intrigued about all this news, and then that's when the 24-hour news cycle. You can turn on the news anytime you want now. If you didn't watch the 6 o'clock news, there was no news.
Yeah.
Now we have it at 7, 8, 9, 10.
Now it's 24/7.
24/7. But that was the day, and all the soap operas went.
Right.
There were no more soap operas, and then there was all the OJ case and
Right.
all that kind of crazy stuff. But
Now the news channel is a soap opera because the
Yeah.
way they dramatize it, the debates.
they get political and whatever, and they make big deals about the president and this guy, whatever. I laugh because I try not to be political because I don't think I am. I'm an independent, Democratic, liberal, conservative, Republican. And I really think that if you really break that all down, nobody in this world should suffer for food, medical, in the world, not just especially in the United States.
Right.
But they make a big deal about the president that we have now. Oh, he's just the president.
Right.
You got to look at the factual things that his Congress is doing and the Senate's doing.
Right.
Are they making changes that better your lifestyle?
Right.
Change them out.
Right.
Let's say he wasn't there. Let's say you were there.
Right.
Would they hate you just as much? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing on the other side. I want to know factually, what are you doing to help people?
Right.
What are you doing to help? Like most of my friends, when they heard no tax on tips and overtime, they were like, they would vote for anybody. Because they make their money. That's blood money. People think, overtime. That's after 40 hours of work.
Right.
That you got to do another 55 hours, another 15 to get 55.
Right.
That's money out of your family, and then it's taxed and everything. I think you shouldn't be paid you shouldn't be taxed on overtime.
Right.
But I wouldn't care who did that. Doesn't have to be him or anybody else, but it's the factual parts that, not the figurehead people.
Right.
I don't want to vote for this guy because he looks good in a suit.
Right.
And I especially don't want to hear an actor. I could care less what James Bond wants to tell me about it. You know better opinion than what I got.
Yeah.
But I want to know factually, what are you doing? What's your plan? What's going on? So
No, 40 hours is a service. Anything beyond that is favor. So favor should not be.
People
treated
do
as
it
the
to
same as
raise their
service.
family.
Yeah, and people are working hard. They have to put bread on their table, right? It's do what you got to do, and you have to vote for somebody who you feel is going to change, like he's going to get you something that you are actually.
But I don't think of it as a person, though. I think of it as a party. I don't give the person any more. He could get sick tomorrow. Then what?
But politics is that's what it drags you, right?
They want you to do that so the ratings go up, and they make you mad at him, and they make you mad at the other side. No, stop that.
Right.
If I was in charge, if the two sides run against each other, you're a Republican and you win, the guy who lost becomes a vice president. You can't have both.
So you combine the two.
Combine the two of them,
Best
yes,
of both
and learn how to work
sides.
together, and let's fix this.
Right. Instead of trying to spend so much time in debating, arguing, going
Who's
back
that
and
help?
forth, voting.
Exactly
and
right.
again. So yeah.
Both sides got to work together, and let's make the best decisions for everybody.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
The media doesn't want that to happen. They'd rather you fight and watch their TV shows, so their ratings go up and all that.
Everything is controlled these days, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So my final segment. This is what my team wants me to do. Is to have a small rapid fire. You can just shoot whatever comes to your mind first. Okay. They are of course catered around you.
Be careful.
Sure. Whatever you say is gonna go. All right. So ready? So this is the rapid fire segment. It's spy or lie. All right. What's most effective, gut instinct or surveillance tech?
Gut instinct.
Cheaters are most often caught doing what?
Bringing people to the same places they go with their wives.
Favorite crime film?
Angels with dirty faces.
All right, I'm going to Google it. Who lies more, men or women?
Women, but only because they're better at it. Men are horrible liars.
NYPD versus Marines, tougher discipline.
Oh, not even close.
Marines.
Marines. Not
I'll
even
answer that
close.
for you.
Not even close.
From what you explained me.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that you notice about someone when they walk in?
Their gait, how they walk, are they, their gait, are they positive, are they confident, are they slacking, or are they,
Have you ever been emotionally affected by a suspect's story?
Yes.
Okay. If you had to erase one memory from your investigations, what would it be?
9/11.
What's one tool you always carry no matter what?
My heart.
Worst client you have ever had? Describe without naming.
The most obnoxious, didn't listen, cheap, he wouldn't let me handle it. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay, all right. One thing people should never do if they suspect they are being followed.
Go to a area that's not populated. I always tell people to turn around and walk right towards the person following you.
So to go towards them instead of...
Turn around and walk right at them.
Wow, okay.
Because they're surveilling you.
Right.
They don't want to be caught.
Right.
If you turn around and walk right at them. And if you're wrong, you're wrong.
Awesome. Well, that brings my end to my my segment, my podcast episode for today. How did you feel?
I better than I did walking in the door. I didn't know what to expect. And like I said, I don't really do this that often. The only thing I would love to tell your clients, your people, anybody that follows you, education. I didn't have it. I was lucky. But that's almost impossible these days.
Right.
Make sure your kids get a good education,
right,
and know who they're hanging around with. And then you'll never have to hire a guy like me.
Okay. Well, I had a pleasure of hosting you. I really learned a lot in this 50 minutes to an hour session. And again, I think the book is, I'm going to finish reading the book, and I will definitely tell you what I thought, because even though I'm still intrigued by the 2-3 chapters that I've read,
I would love to hear it. Yeah.
there's much more in here that I have to read. And think about approaching Netflix. I completely forgot. They have this thing called a series now, limited series. The chapters are amazing.
That's what people have mentioned to me. But
yeah, you should.
I'm a good second guy. I'm not a good first guy. I mean,
right.
You do that, and I'll do it with you. You know what I mean? I'm not a good. I'm a good second guy. I like that. I'm not the first guy.
So, like your profession, stay in the shadows.
Yeah, a little bit.
And let.
I'll be there to help you, but right. I don't need to be the front guy.
I have to my final question. What's next? Is there something coming up after this?
There is a book that I'm halfway through. It's called The Checklist. I think it's better than that. I use a lot of cases that I did work on, but I do a thing called they let you use a literary license. So I use cases that I know are out there that I may not have been, individually in on, but I make it better. And I think it's much better than that.
Okay.
Much better. It's
awesome.
More current. Now I know how difficult it is to write a book. The first one was, I'm not going to say easy,
right,
but the second one is tough.
Right.
Second one's tough, but I'll get it done.
Now, looking forward to it. Hopefully you can share. So we already know Samantha named this one.
Yes.
We would love to know if you can sell how did checklists come into life.
Thank you.
That'll be awesome. But for the audience, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Show some love. Share this video with as much people as possible. And I'll see you in the next episode. This is your host, Halak, signing off. See you later.